Hey guys, Hikari here, and today we have another chapter of My Hero Academia, and this week's chapter is titled A Small Step for Man, and we actually don't lead back into the fight with All for One, which I figured we weren't going to. Horikoshi doesn't want to end that fight so quickly, so we're actually jumping back into the fight with Shigaraki though, which we haven't seen him in the manga for a good while now, so that's still pretty cool. And we jump right into the chapter this week with Shigaraki fighting off a bunch of different heroes, and the two heroes that we start off the chapter with are actually Sun Eater and Nejire, and that's pretty cool since we haven't seen them for a long time in the entire story, so it's kind of cool to see them pop back up into the chapters, and I find that just pretty cool. So other than that, we see them fighting and it doesn't look like they're doing too good against Shigaraki, and they state this many times in the chapter, this is technically a Shigaraki that is nerfed since he isn't even able to use his quirks. Although this is the case, we do see that Nejire is still holding him off pretty well, and we also see Best Jeanist in the fight, and he's doing pretty well too. And we also see Mirko too, we see a spread with Mirko, and they're just all fighting. Best Jeanist is basically telling them to not stop and to keep moving since it is going to be very dangerous for them to even stop for a second, and he's saying that these things will swallow you whole in a second, and I definitely can imagine that it looks pretty menacing, and the fact that he's able to put off or shoot out these many different extensions of his arms and fingers and stuff is pretty crazy, but Mirko is just saying, to keep dodging through, we need to reach the main body. It's at this point, though, that she remarks that these freakers' hands are no joke, but at least he can't use his All Might-esque physical prowess at the same time, so it seems that the more that he stretches out his body and stretches out these fingers and body parts, the less strength that they have in them technically, so it's still a problem, it's still very bad if they get hit by them, but it's definitely not as strong as if he were to put everything into his one body and try to fight like that. But of course, if he does that, he wouldn't be able to hold them off and away from him the same way that he's going to be doing, or he is doing right now. We actually do get to see Edgeshot in a couple panels in this chapter too, and he does an attack called Shattering Paper Thread where he completely destroys the arm that was extended out from Shigaraki, and the arm completely heals back though instantly, and he starts to remark that, how could this not be a quirk? You said this was just natural growth, but that's impossible, and Shigaraki literally calls him out by name. He calls him Kamihara Shinya, so he's just saying that the All for One quirk is settling in right now and that various external factors and the swarm of quirks have combined. So the combination of all the quirks is trying to basically mold his body into something that could even contain this many and this amount of quirks. It's trying to find a way that it can morph his body to be able to accommodate that, and this is kind of the end result of that. This is the most interesting part of the chapter in my opinion, and this is where Shigaraki kind of talks about his plans of how he wants to move forward, and this is kind of the first time that we've really gotten him explicitly saying like, this is what I want to do with this power, and he's saying that with this body and its power, I shall create a new world. I'll become God and rule over everybody, and he's saying that a world so divided that standards cease to exist for human bodies and abilities is doomed to collapse and disappear. He's basically just talking about how that the world is divided against people with quirks and people without quirks, and whether or not quirks are kind of getting in the way of their progression. And also we have to take into account the fact that heteromorphs in the series are looked down upon by the regular populace of people with quirks and without quirks. So he's basically saying that because of the existence of quirks, it kind of makes everything unbalanced for everybody and puts other people on a higher level than others for certain reasons, since those with powerful quirks, those that can be able to get ahead in lives, are different from those without quirks, and also those that were given maybe a quirk that kind of hinders them living their life in a simple way, they're kind of at a disadvantage compared to somebody that either doesn't have a quirk or has a quirk that kind of helps them out in life instead of hinders them. So he just wants everything to be equal without quirks, and in order to do that, he's saying that under his control, everybody will be equal in oppression, and he's saying that isn't that a step towards the peace you heroes want? And I think this is kind of interesting. This is his plan. He basically wants to, I guess, terrorize everybody and become like the end-all be-all, and while everybody's being terrorized, everybody's trying to survive, I guess you could say, he's going to make them all equal in that fact, since nobody will have time to even consider, this person looks different from me, this person has a quirk. They're all going to be trying to live their lives and do that, and I think this is very similar to Garo's plan in from One Punch Man. I think it's very relevant to bring this up since a lot of stuff is happening in One Punch Man right now, but it's kind of very similar to his plan where he wants to basically become a being that nobody can contest, nobody can deal with, and he's going to make everybody equal in terror. They're going to be too busy trying to survive to even consider the fact that they look different from each other, and instead of banding together to fight each other, they're going to have to band together to try to fight that being that is going to get them. So his plan is very similar to that, and I think it's pretty cool, but I don't know if this is technically his plan or if this is still all for one kind of talking in there. And it's at this point that even Bakugo says this in the chapter. He says that, I don't know if you're all for one or Shigaraki right now, but I don't want to hear one more word from you, and that he's had enough of him since Kamino. So we still don't know technically if this is all for one talking or if this is fully Shigaraki. So I guess we're gonna have to get confirmation of that later on in the chapters, but we just don't know right now. But I think his plan is pretty interesting. I don't know if he's going to change that depending on if this is really Shigaraki or if this is all for one kind of putting what he wants into there, but only time will tell though. With that being said, let's get back into the chapter, and right now we are seeing the very cool panel of Bakugo and his new ability called Area Suppressing Heavy Armor Activated Strafing Panzer. And he's saying that I will clear a path, and let's just go over this design. This is so cool. He has just straight up like rocket pods all on his shoulders, and you can only imagine how much each individual rocket pod weighs, and he was fighting in these. He was moving around using his ability, fighting with these very huge devices on his back. So that's cool, and just the design, just all of the aesthetic, like it just looks so cool for Bakugo. I think Horikoshi did amazing on this panel right here, and the ability, just the name and everything is very cool and very much fits with Bakugo's theme. I just want to praise this panel a whole bunch for how it looks. Bakugo then remarks that we'll crush the main body, and he uses the ability to get right now, and it seems like it just carpet bombs the entire area. Everything that was in the way gets completely destroyed, and he's telling Mirko that we're going to be moving together, and she remarks that, he's finally learned to use teamwork instead of trying to do everything himself. And then Bakugo remarks that Monoma and Aizawa are using their eraser quirk to get rid of Shigaraki's quirks, and that Kaminari and the others are giving it all to power the platform that they're even standing on. And then there's Yayorozu that has the platform up in the air. She's creating that with the creation quirk. So he then remarks that said misunderstandings in turn give rise to fear and rejection, and he's saying that you're going to tell me about misunderstandings, fear, and rejection. He says, I accepted that all long ago. And then Best Genius is basically saying Bakugo, and he's saying, but I didn't just accept them, I'm way over it right now. So this is very important. This kind of shows Bakugo's character kind of going full circle. We started off the series with him being kind of arrogant. He had this very strong power, and he was very arrogant with it. He showed off how much stronger he was against other people, and he even bullied Deku a lot of the time during their childhood. But this shows that he's accepted his role as trying to get the job done. He's not trying to outshine anybody. He's not trying to be the center of attention. It kind of shows that he's accepted the fact that he has a job to do, and he's not going to try to make things difficult for anybody. This really is important for his character, the fact that he's even saying this right now. And this is why we even see panels of Best Genius and Mirko kind of remarking like, whoa, like he's actually working with people. He's not kind of going out of his way to do things by himself. This is very important for his character, and I love that, he's finally kind of accepted things, and he's going to do what he can while everybody else does what they can, which is another thing he showed in the chapter, that everybody has a role to play. And I really do love that Bakugo's really come full circle from how he was in the beginning of the story. And this is definitely why he's a lot of people's favorite characters, and you can see why, obviously. But moving back into the chapter, he's saying that I found people who are willing to put all of that aside and move forward, no matter what it may take. He remarks that he doesn't really care about anything that Shigaraki has to say, and he uses his final move with the chapter, and we see Best Genius reacting to it. And Best Genius just looks kind of surprised. He looks like a proud teacher, kind of seeing that Bakugo has really come full circle after a lot of his teaching since Best Genius did have a big impact on Bakugo, kind of becoming like this too. But Bakugo announces his final move, Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite, Howitzer Impact Cluster Bomb, and we see that it's going straight directly towards Shigaraki, and this is where the chapter actually ends. So it seems like he's added the Howitzer Impact, which was his original super move, and he's added the cluster bombs to it to create almost most likely a very unblockable attack with a barrage of explosions that you can't defend against. And this is perfect for someone like Shigaraki right now, where he has all of these arms growing out of him, so they need a way to kind of clear the path and get rid of them so that they can get to his main body. And the chapter ends, and we're going to actually be on break next week, so no chapter next week, which is kind of sad, but Black Clover is also coming back too, so I guess within the next couple issues after it comes back, Black Clover is going to be here, but it is kind of sad that we have a break next week, but it is what it is. Horikoshi needs time to rest and recover. But a great chapter this week, though. I really enjoyed it, and I just like that we had a big focus on showing that Bakugo's really come full circle in terms of his character. He's become way better than he was at the beginning of the series, and that's always great to see. And I know people are going to love this. People already like Bakugo, and to see him grow like this is very important for the story and very important for readers to realize. But other than that, I think the chapter was very amazing, and I can't wait for new chapters to come out. But just tell me what you guys thought of the chapter in the comments, though. Did you like it, or did you kind of not like anything? I like Shigaraki's plan, but I think there might be a little bit more to it. That's why I think that this version of Shigaraki is still being influenced by All For One a little bit, but only time will tell, though. But like the video if you liked it, and subscribe, as it really does help me out a whole bunch. You have no idea how much, but thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.